And we should be live. There we go. Big breath. Let me make sure I'm actually in the game. Oh, I was still in the camera mode. There we go. So, goal of the stream is essentially to take some time and test out the guns and their new accuracies. I did do a little bit of this already when it came to the unlock properties. I did do a little bit of testing with this the other day just to make sure that like cannons were actually functioning. And I got some good results from it. So now I want to do a little more testing, see if we can get some long range shots in with some of the other guns. Because the only one I've really tested is the battle cannon, the main battle cannon. So if I load up this, this has a new gun placed in it. And it also has some, oh, it's missing some things. Interesting. Let me load. Is there backups? Autosave. You have the thing that you should have. Let's just paint this real quick. Okay. That's painted. And I need to paint the gun breech itself. So where's the replace color? There we go. Save as point. No. XMBT mark 31_8. So this is the Mark 31 with a modified, actually really I shouldn't say modified, just with the new cannons that have come out, with the new accuracies that have come out, and a larger barrel. So if I put this down here at the end of the range, love this little camera system. Anyway. So if I just park this here, let's put on the parking brake, and let's just have the front facing. Yoink. And then I just go and grab and load another one. I want to show how accurate the new battle cannons are. And honestly, part of the problem that's going to be happening when it comes to the accuracy of this particular tank is the fact that it does not have that fine of fidelity when it comes to actually aiming it. So, from here, that is set waypoint 1.2 kilometers. And then, if we line up our gun, I think right about there? Nope, much further than that. Still further? This is where I need some finer aiming, just on this tank. There we go. We actually hit what looks to be the tip of the gun barrel. Actually, I see that. Wait, what did we hit? Don't actually see any damage. Interesting. Okay, let's head back. And I know an easy solution for how I need to do the increased accuracy. So what I want to have on a future tank is essentially mouse aiming for the majority of its controls. But once I'm actually aiming at these kinds of ranges, having my arrow keys set up to do like fine tuning, so I can just hold my mouse here. That was a hit. That was another hit. And then do the fine aiming with the arrow keys. That was long just because my mouse went up just a bit too much. Hit. So this is at 1.2 kilometers, and I can actually hit a tank-sized target repeatedly. Now, the shells do have some deviation, which is expected, but it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Nowhere near as bad as it used to be. So, here's what's the goal for today. I'm going to put this away, and I'm going to just kind of make a quick mobile chassis with a turret. I'm going to just probably turn on infinite electricity and infinite ammo. And I want to see what kinds of ranges guns are good at with different barrel lengths. Because this barrel here is actually an extended barrel from the original Mark 31. This gun is good out to about 1.2 kilometers. Now, I also want to see what the heavy autocannon and some of the other guns actually function like when it comes to this. So, I'm going to build just a quick chassis. Quick test platform. I'm not sure, Claude. And then grab tracks. They're not named tracks. They're named tank wheel for some reason. Okay. And then what's the key for... Oh, it's control. That was alt for some reason. Alright. And then... add... invert... WS, AD, AD, and then these will go here, and I'm just going to turn on infinite electricity. Let's do increase these and then clamp the actual motors because I don't need this much power. .5, negative 0.5, and 0.5 should be so I realize that that's actually going to cause some issues. So let's do 7.5. There you go. Different content. I've kind of been focused on building games. That's what I do with my majority of stuff around. I could go full in on Gearblocks because I know Gearblocks is popular. That is an option. But also there are some other games and other things I want to do as well, just because I enjoy ooh. I enjoy brain went burr. Enjoyed things like Vintage Story and like enjoyed tanks and tank battles and stuff. It was never really my goal to chase a meta when it came to content creation. The original intent of the channel was to do basically game reviews and game showcases for indie games. And that's how I came across the indie game that is Scrap Mechanic. And that became the main game, and that's kind of how I went down the rabbit hole of focusing on building games, because I enjoy building games and I'm also good at building games. Here's the thing, I do actually make money from the content that I create. And it's okay when it comes to the amount that I make. That being said, the idea of trend chasing is not what I want. The idea of I would rather have a solid community over a just like, how do I put this? If I wanted to make money, I'd be making bot content, just flooding the fucking shorts with like stolen audio and shit. That's how you make money on YouTube. Like, if I wanted to make money, I'd be doing that, but I don't. I do want to make money, yes. That is part of why I'm doing YouTube. I think it's part of why a lot of people want to do YouTube, because it's the idea of being able to do something you enjoy as a day job. However, I don't want to create cheap content in order to achieve that. Okay. I'm going to put one of my old turrets on this, I think. Actually, here's what I want to do. Divide by. So actually give me a better output than a clamp would. want this to be like controllable. Part of the reason I'm having issues with how controllable this is just because of the position of the motors. It's basically balancing on just 2 wheels right now. Why tweak what now? The chassis? I'm tweaking the chassis just because I need something stable to build on. I really don't care too much about how this turns out. I just need it to move in a predictable and controllable manner. Hello, Benedek. Like, this doesn't need to be fast or be good. I just need it to be stable. Now that it's stable, it's like, cool. Now I get to actually do my my test rig on this. I need this. All right, let's do ring. This is an outdated turret design, but it'll do what I need it to. I think it's X that I need. Let me do. Need to do negative. Inverter. Actually, no, I'm going to do a function block here. Because I think I'm going to need it anyway. Negative X. I think I have to do ×4 as well, so I'm just going to put this in here and test it. That's not working. Is it not ×4 for this one? Might just be negative X. I'll give that a go. I don't want this. I want this to be quite low, and then you to be quite low. I don't need the turret to be too fantastic. Okay, it is getting where I'm telling it to, so that's working. I wish you could edit these values without having to go all the way back to the build menu like you can with gear blocks. Like, just be able to go into this menu and go, okay, tweak that value. I think part of what my issue is this. Okay, getting there. I've got a lot of plans. I want to make. So one of the requests is actually a tractor pull sled. I want to do that and build a vehicle that can actually pull it. I do want to do some like rock crawlers and stuff. And actually, I might try and make a rock crawler arena in some way. Because I know like the scenarios and stuff, you can create custom scenarios. I don't think it'd be hard to make some like just placeable rocks and create a rock crawler course that people could play on. I think those are the top things on my to-do list. Well, I could do a better supercar, but I've already done like 3 or 4 just cars. And yes, I could go faster and faster and faster until I get something that actually like races. But part of the problem is until we have aerodynamics, some of that's going to be kind of complicated to do. Um, do, do, do. Let's do. I actually selected the wrong one. I don't need up, down, left, right. Let's do function 2. Function 3. Yeah. Negative x plus y divided by 2. And let's do x, y. That may need to be negative as well. Yeah. So the idea is I can control this for the most part with my mouse. But once we actually start doing our aiming tests and we do those minute changes, I have left and right. The reaction wheels aren't a part of the space DLC. They're actually in here already. I don't have the space DLC. They don't seem to actually do that much outside of space, though. They have very low power output in gravity, basically. Yeah. For a light test turret, it kind of makes sense. But from my testing, it hasn't worked out the best. And then I'm going to do a second function block. For this one. X. C. Y. Oh, did I not connect it? No, you're connected. Oh, I didn't put a function in here. That's why. I need to do negative X. Do negative X plus Y divided by 5. And then have Y be up, down. Melvin, I've messed around with it. Currently, the cannons in Gearblocks aren't the best. And there is the additional problem of there is no multiplayer in Gearblocks, so we can't do tank battles, which is the whole point of building tanks, in my opinion, is to actually like use them. So say, because this only has so much fine fidelity, I can use my arrow keys to really fine tune this at range. Multiplayer in Gearblocks, from what I've seen, is on the roadmap, but it's not. From what I understand, the goal is to get basically the game finished and then put multiplayer in it. Because the concern is if they add multiplayer now, for every update, they're going to have to redo multiplayer. So they want to get the game finished or close to finished and then integrate multiplayer into the finished game so that they don't have to keep re-implementing multiplayer every time they update something. You need to put a screen. That would be helpful. Or monitor, sorry. Don't need composite, I need video. And then power. The chaff-resistant missiles, so the chaff-resistant missiles that I made aren't the most effective, to be honest. They are very finicky and only work in, like, the best scenarios. So I'm not entirely too sure how well chaff-resistant missiles are going to work. And if they are going to become something that is problematic and prevalent, I could also see the introduction of active protection systems as well coming into the game. Okay, this is what I was looking for. There also I could also genuinely see a um I could genuinely see doing, oh, this is where my test tank is. Um different levels of, like, different weight classes, essentially having like a weight class with or without missiles, or even a weight class with or without smart missiles. Because, like, if you have a laser guided missile, that's cool. If you have the IR or the not the IR, the radar guided, there we go, radar guided chaff. But once you start getting into smart missiles, I think there could be a distinction of, like, yes or no to smart missiles. Okay. I want to have the seat layout a little bit different. That's perfect. It's this. Where's it at? This that needs it. Yeah. Um, One of the things I also wanted to implement into the actual tank building, like the tank design side of stuff, as well, was actually having um a like a hard limit on stuff. So, for example, right now my tank is 12,219. Radar. A single radar is $800 each. So let's do comparison to Canon. $800 versus, where's the battle cannon? Battle cannon, $100. And then for each round of battle cannon, $100. You could have a battle cannon and 7 shells for the price of a single radar, not counting the $200 for fins and the $100 for a rocket. Adding cost as a limiting factor for tank design, I think, would also do something to it as well. I'm pretty sure microcontrollers are really cheap just because the game wants you to use them. Yeah, they're only 100 each. But that being said, monitors get very pricey. Oh, ooh, yeah. Which really makes you want to use, like, one of these. Do they scale though? Because this is, okay, 2x3. That's 6. 6 of these. Yeah, it does scale with the individual monitors. Which also makes like a third person laser pointing only tank very effective. Let's look at cameras. Yeah, that's 3,000. Yeah. And then gimbals. Stabilized gimbal. That's yeah. Pricing is one we'd have to look into, I think. I think it can work. But it also comes down to what actually has those prices attached to it. Let's do that. Yeah. Is there a way to actually like check what all parts are in a vehicle other than just going to it and because I know you can go to it and like do this and then you'd see all of these components. The question then is of the parts we want to like avoid giving too much of, how many of them don't actually show up here? Because I know all the fins and stuff do. Because it'd be pretty easy just to grab a creation, look at it, and go, okay, here's your total points. Here's a, oh, the camera. Camera doesn't show up. That's one. The gimbal? Does the gimbal do it? Oh, it does. This shows up. Wait, why is the camera not? Oh, because the camera's infrared mode is on a top. Okay, that's why the camera doesn't show up. Hmm. Does radar? But radar doesn't have a video node. Shouldn't have a video node. Yeah, radar doesn't. I think there may be a way to look at a tank and go, okay, here's points or here's price. That's part of the reason I haven't done like a rule set for this yet. Is because we'd have to find a way to like balance tanks well. And one of my concerns is smart missiles. Because essentially requiring a programming language as a intro to tank building, I don't think is a good idea. Let's see how well we can see him from back here. How quickly he just turns into a speck on the screen. There's also like something to be said of if someone wants to build a tank that has like a full functions from first person view using a bunch of cameras and monitors, I don't want that to be punished. And I think, ooh, no. I'm going to turn off vehicle destruction for a bit. Vehicle damage. There we go. I think having different classes or different, yeah, I guess classes would be the best, like weight classes for like first person, third person, and like smart missiles. That would also mean for me as like the creator, I would have to always have 3 tanks ready for combat at any given time. And that being said, I'm not too keen to actually like do smart missiles myself. I did one for the sake of like making one, for the sake of figuring out how that would work. But I'm not sure about that like in a long-term thing, especially considering how bad my missile actually was. All right. I kind of want to zoom in a little bit more. Just going to go full to 1. Actually, I have an idea. I'm going to select you, cut, move, paste, merge, and then bring you down even further. Use you like a really cheap line. So I don't have to actually set up. Okay. I like that. I think that works. Okay. Now let's slap a few different guns to this platform and see what we can get up to. Let's do battle cannon first. Battle cannon, I'm gonna have infinite ammo on anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. Let's do fire. And then let's just do space. Make sure fire is on push and space is on push. Make sure we have infinite ammo turned on. There it is. So if I do that, and then I can use arrow keys for the fine aiming. Alright, aiming. Still a little low. Hit. That was over. That was the barrel. And it seems I'm going high, so let's go right about there. That was dead center. That was over. Over. Under. That was direct center. Okay, so here's what I want to do with this. I'm going to grab a piece of paper and something to write with. So the goal is I have a battle cannon with zero a battle cannon with 0 barrels. I want to see at what range I can hit 10, let's say 10 shots in a row or 5 shots in a row, just for the sake of making testing easier. That being said, I need to be able to see what my laser says. So I need a number from the laser. There we go. Also, hello, Fornetti. We are testing the cannon accuracy from what they've been updated to in StormWorks. So the idea is we have a simple test rig. We're going to start strapping weapons to it and seeing at what range you can repeatedly and reliably hit a tank-sized target at. So this is a battle cannon with no barrels. And I'm going to just start at a reasonable 500 meters. Trying to actually get the laser on the tank there. You do need the Search and Destroy DLC. Okay. Close enough, 501. We're just going to start testing here. Okay. So, load gun. Fire. That was short. That was high. Let's do some fine tune. That's a hit. That was a hit, but very low. That was a hit on the track, I think. There is a laser rangefinder. I have one on this tank, Fornetti. Okay. It can do 500 meters, but it's very questionable. So let's try and set up around 600 now. Oh, I'm gonna run into the thing. At 630, we're a little bit further than we should be. There we go. 600. Before we're aiming, I think about there, so let's try... I'm also curious if the barrel has increased the velocity of the shell. That was a hit. Oh, I've built one on another tank. Hit. Too low. Hit. Too low. Hit. Hit. There's 2 in a row. 3 in a row. 4 in a row. 5 in a row. I'm genuinely surprised by that. Alright. Let's back this up to 700. I think this is where this is going to fail, because it's already struggling at 600. $700. All right. That was low. Hit. Too high. Too high. I guess we could also end up with like a perfect randomizer where just always 5 shots are going to hit the same spot. Too low. Yeah, we're getting 2 highs and 2 lows. At 700. That was a hit. Hit. Too far left. Hit. Hit. I'm surprised it's doing this well. That was a miss. That was too low. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it and say 700 is where it doesn't work. Now, here's something that I'm curious about. The muzzle brake. Muzzle brake reduced weapon recoil force when added to the end of a weapon barrel. So this is only recoil, it seems. That's fine. Increase accuracy, but produce more recoil. That's making me wonder if it's also giving it more velocity to the shell. Because longer barrel burns more powder, higher velocity, more recoil. That's my logic, at least. Let's see if 1 barrel is enough to get 700 to work. 701, close enough. Alright. We were aiming, I think, right about there. That was too low. No sound? Is the game not... Oh, the game's just quiet. I can turn the game up. Yeah, I have the game audio really low. That was too low. Too high. That was on point. See if we can put another few shells right there. That one was almost too high. I'm going to bring it down just a bit. Center my line a little bit better too. That was too low. That one was perfect. That's too low. It's very far off left. That was very far off right and almost went over the tank. That was too low. That was too high. So 700 is questionable with one barrel. I want to see how many barrels it takes to get 700 to be reliable now. I think we were right about there. Too low. That was a hit, but still a little low. I'm going to go just a bit higher. That was a good hit. A little low still. That one went under. Okay. This is hitting. I'm going to go just a little bit to the left to get more centered in the tank. That was a little low for my liking, but it still hit. Okay, so this is working fine for 700. And here's what I'm going to say is my theory now. I'm curious if every 2 barrels you adds about 100 meters range effective. Because at 700, it's hitting, but it's not doing well. 800. That was a hit. It was a hit, but low. That was too low. We are hitting it. That one's too low. So 800 meters for this one is questionable. It hits relatively reliably, but still misses a few. I need to adjust the cannon on this and give it another barrel. Or camera, not cannon. I'm going to have to pull this out just a bit. It's a little high. Like a weird M56. This is doing well at 800. That one went low, but I think part of that is my own correction. So I'm going to leave it there without making any modifications. You got 5 back-to-back shots, and they're all pretty accurate, I think. Alright, time to do 900. Oh, I think we passed it. Yeah, no? Yeah, we passed it by a little bit. 900. I go for right about there. That was high. I think that was a hit. Looks like a hit. Low. I got hit. At this point, I need a second camera. Welcome back, Vector. Yep, StormWorks. Testing out cannon accuracy. What? No, it's just a laser. It's literally just a laser. Okay, that one missed. I'd say 900, it's usually effective, but it did miss 1 or 2 shots. So it seems like every cannon barrel you add to it adds about 100 meters effective range. So, to kind of take this theory to the extreme really quickly, this one is about 800, so let's say 9, 10, 11. This should be good at 1,100, but then fall off at 12,000. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say do this, which is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which should, in theory, be 10,000. But not 12,000. So I'm going to try this gun at 10,000. I'm going to add a second camera real quick. I need a screen to put that on. Three by 3. Apparently vehicle weapons got 4 times accuracy along with character weapons. I wouldn't say I've done fire control systems before with StormWorks. So, like I was saying, the one camera is incorrect. Why is it not correct? Attach camera feed, composite. I have some stabilized turrets already. They're not firewall driving stabilized, but they're similar to like World War II stabilizers. Subgrid to the robotic pivot controls. It's how you make them stronger. Okay. So that tank is 1,200 away. Roughly. Back up a little bit. Can't back up anymore. Okay. Roughly 1,200. So this is at the point that this gun should completely fail. That looked like a hit. I need to fix that camera. Can't see at this. Yeah, turret's mouse controlled. Oop. Hit the ledge here. This is one of my older mouse control style turrets. It was just easier, so I set it up on this test platform. Okay. So roughly 12,000. This is where this system should fail. I need to move forward a little bit so I can actually see the cameras. This is in theory where this system should fail. That was low. That was high. I'm basically trying to reliably hit a tank-sized target with at least 5 rounds in a row. That was low. And what I'm trying to avoid is a situation where I'm getting both low hits and high hits on a vehicle. So that was low. That was too far right, which makes sense because I'm aimed a little too far right. That was okay. Little left, but fine. Because this is a really quick, like, test platform, and I don't feel like doing Lua code for something that I'm just using to test and don't intend to use for any long period of time. That also is far right. I don't think that one hit. She answered for how do you make gyro and steering mechanism for a motorcycle and the gearbox? Trying to make one. Melvin, a good chunk of it is the front geometry and having weights in the wheels. The front geometry does a lot of that work. That looked like it was too high and too right. That one's too low. So if I aim up again, that one's direct hit. That was too high. That was just fine. Yes. This one is using 5 barrel extensions. That one is dead on. It seems that every barrel extension adds about 100 meters. That was too low. So we've had a too high, too low. So that is a fail at 12,000. That was dead on. Dead on. Too high. So it seems that every barrel extension adds about 100 meters of effective range, starting at 600. So just the cannon itself is okay out to around 600 meters, but starts to fail at 700. And then every barrel extension past that. Well, my aim doesn't seem to be changing, and I do actually have like brakes and stuff. I'm not really moving. And I am waiting for the tank to come to a stop before my next shot. I'm not firing while it's still shaking. So, okay. So the idea was this gun here should be good out to 10,000 meters, or 1,000 meters, sorry, not 10,000. Should start falling off around 11 and then become unusable at 12, which it did become unusable at 12 because we were getting both high and low shots at 12. So at 11, it should get most of its shots, but occasionally miss one or two. Okay, that's good enough. Give me one moment. I'm going to go AFK for just a second. There we go. Needed to grab myself something to drink because I am running low. Okay, that being dealt with. Right now I'm using the infinite ammo, which automatically loads HE. HE is not going to be allowed in actual tank battles because it's just busted. Armor piercing and fragmentation do significantly better, balancing wise. All right, 1100. This should be working. Most of the time, there might be one or two shells. Why am I bouncing? Might be one or two shells that miss. Spaced armor? Yes, spaced armor does function. However, fragmentation simulates high explosive better than HE. HE is just so like over needs to be on a separate grid. What doesn't really work? Spaced armor? Yeah. HE just completely destroys anything it hits. Does not care about armor, does not care about like anything really. Yes, spaced armor does work against HE, but nothing else does. I want to turn my tank, but the brakes don't like it. I don't know why it was jumping there a minute ago. It's a little low. Was it, I think, a hit? The Search and Destroy update seems to be balanced heavily for PvE and not PvP. That, and it also seems to be balanced for warships, not tanks, because that's the whole thing. The game is mostly about ships. That's what this game started out as, was just ships. And that one was high. Every single shot we've hit, except for that one, which is what I would say. Oh, that one didn't. Interesting. Which is what I was saying of all of these shots should hit except for one or two. I'm starting to get consistent non-hits. Welcome back. Okay. So I think, to be honest, 5 barrels, and I would say 5 barrels and a muzzle brake. Let's put a muzzle brake on this. Is probably the best you can do for a battle cannon. You could put a 6th. Like, you could definitely put a 6th, but you're starting to run into an issue where the actual range in which you can see a target and the range you can engage the target are different. Can you actually, this is a question. Can you set this to be higher than 1 point? Let's just do like 2. I think the limit for this is 1, but I want to see something real quick. As I come out here, tank is roughly that big. If I go back down to 1, so there's been a few ideas we've tossed around. It does seem to do something. There's a few ideas we've tossed around. One of the things we want to avoid is automatic aiming turrets. We want there to be basically some level of player skill involved. Yeah, it doesn't do anything past 1. Some level of player skill involved with actually aiming your tank. That as well, we want to have some level of limitation of how much technology you can use. In the sense of, yes, things like stabilizers and stuff are really nice, really cool, and we'd like to have them in combat, but we don't want to have high-level programming as a requirement to be competitive. So having possibly having a few different limitations with things like smart missiles, having those as like their own weight class or even just above the kind of competition we want to hold, or having like limitations on how much Lua you can use. Or one of the other ideas was having price be a variable with how big a tank can be, because when you take a tank in here, you can see how much it costs to bring out, and you can see how much individual parts and pieces cost. Like, for a full gun, for this full gun, we have what? 1, 2, 3, $400? $400 for the gun, but for a radar is $800. So one of these missiles costs twice as much as my cannon. So possibly having price be a concern. The only problem is with that, we've discovered that certain things like monitors and cameras, monitors especially, get really expensive really fast for what seems like no particular reason. Like that 2x3 in the center is like $3,000. And that being said, it's just like price might be one of the variables we want to use. We had also talked about doing a point system. So I'm not sure how that would work. Okay. Let's go back to what we know is a good range, 10,000. Or 1,000, sorry, not 10,000. Keep adding an extra 0. What am I even talking about? We were talking about how some people want to use radars and stuff, and how we might have rules for how much you can use radars and things. We want to do actual PvP combat with these tanks. Having a set of rules. We don't have rules yet. Well, the problem with the ATGMs is you could use a radar ATGM, but chaff defeats radar. And then the same issue with what I'm having with the cannon right now is the cannon is relatively effective to a certain amount. The problem being that past a certain point, visual range is the problem, because this is as far as a camera can zoom in, and this is at 1,000 meters. I'm gonna guess right around there for 1,000. Oh, almost. Didn't actually see where that landed. That looked like hit. That was a little far right. Hit. This is the large camera. I don't think the gimbal camera has more zoom. I think the gimbal camera can just pivot. Why does it feel like the... Yeah. Why does it feel like adding the muzzle brake reduced my accuracy? Because we're having high-low shots here. That was high, so I'm going to aim down a little bit. That looked low. Yeah, that went high. That one was very low. That one was that under? I didn't actually see that one. That looked like it was under as well. Yeah, that was under. Does it say that it reduces accuracy? Reduce force, reduces weapon recoil force when added to the end of the barrel. Doesn't say anything about accuracy. Let's remove that. And just go back to 11 or 1,000. 1,000 is where we were, I do believe. All right, it's roughly 1,000. I think we were aimed right about there. There does seem to be diminishing returns past a certain point. That was just from previous testing before this accuracy update. That was high. Low. Okay, I'm not going to touch any of my ranging. That one was low. If we get a high out of this, then I know it's wrong. It's bad. But if we don't get a high out of this, then I just need to aim up slightly. Ooh, was that a high right? That was low. Low. I'm going to aim up now. That was low. I think for this then, the conclusion is, so this is 5, or should be 5 barrels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This doesn't look overly long. I feel like adding a 6th or 7th wouldn't be the worst idea. And the muzzle brake doesn't seem the most important. Like, I would honestly gladly not have that. Now, this is a little exaggerated solely for the fact that I have the turret so far forward and then the gun out front of the turret itself. Like, I should have this breach back here towards the middle of the turret at worst. So, actually, I should kind of demonstrate that. So let's do that. Let's grab this. Cut. Paste. Merge. And then I'm going to get rid of merge. And this would be a bit more accurate with how long the barrel would be, which doesn't seem that bad. I think genuinely anything longer than a 7 barrel on a battle cannon just wouldn't be necessary, because at that point its accuracy would be at or beyond visual range. Because this is 1,000. Let's just go right about there. That was low. It's a hit, but still a little low. It's still a little low. Hit dead center. I was low. I think almost missed it off to the right. Okay. That's what I expected. But I want to go back even further this time. Mm. Some difficulty because this isn't flat. Okay. We're at just under 13. And I can see it on both cameras. I can barely see it on the right one. The left one, I can see it. But my concern is, can I actually see where I'm hitting at this range? Up and then left. Low still. Hit. Hit. A little low, it looked like. Hit. That was high. Oh yeah, you could put markers on the screen with Lua. I've done it on some of my tanks, actually, some of my older ones. Back when I had literally calculated the randomness of battle cannons before they changed it. Battle cannons weren't truly random. They have like they have a set seed every time you place one. However, originally all battle cannons had that same seed. I was able to generate the offsets essentially. I think at this range, yeah, I'm starting to hit low. That was low. I think at this range, I can barely see the tank on my monitor. I can still get rather close to it, and every shot I'm taking, I can correct. And the next shot almost always hits. No, they weren't truly random. You could essentially generate their spread pattern. And I did that for a few tanks. That's how I got my original tanks so accurate. But the problem is, it used to be a single set value, and then they made it so that every time you place a new gun, you had to generate a new spread pattern. And when you're doing that for 30 plus rounds, it was just essentially hours of me staring at, since talking about the new update, since random is basically possible, but extra work, yeah. Yeah. So this is, what, 7 barrels I think I put on this one? I think 7 barrels is reasonable. Because, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's good out to about 11 and can do okay at about 12. It's not the best, but it is okay. I genuinely think anything further than 12,000 is likely not going to occur. Or if you are battling past that, those would be some giant tanks with that barrel. What, 7? So, what is it? Every 4 blocks or something is a meter in this game? That's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 meter? An Abrams tank is 5 meters. Its main gun is 5 meters long. So the fact we have them at 7 meters doesn't seem unreasonable. Yeah, I don't think 7 meters is unreasonable. And considering we also got it working relatively well around 5 barrels, yeah, I would say we're roughly around the right range. If I drag a block. Yeah, 7 meters. I did calculate correctly. And that's also 7 meters to the breach. Some of this is actually going to be behind the gun, like the gun, the armor and mantlet and stuff. And then you also have to take into account the fact that I really love oscillating turrets, and my breach is probably going to be back here anyway. Like, here, let me save. So this is my other tank. I really like oscillating turrets. Real quick, how long is this one's barrel? Just out of my own curiosity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus that. So this is what I would consider to be a functional tank. Oh yeah, this tank does not like infinite ammo. Yeah, this tank does not work with infinite ammo on because of how its loading system works. So this is that same barrel in a tank with an oscillating turret. Here, real quick. You make really small tanks. Let's do something real quick. Um, so the yeah, let's just do this. This is let's just say that that's the bottom of my tank. Actually, no. Let's just say this is the bottom of my tank because tracks are going to go into this. The Abrams, an Abrams is 2.89 meters tall. So that tall. It is 9. Let's go to the front of my tank. I'm not sure if this is considering chassis. I think it's just chassis and not the actual gun. 9.83 meters. I think it is counting the gun. So let's go from the back of my turret. (9.8), and then width of 3.6. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this real quick. Yoink. And then we have a center marker, so 3.2. Yeah. Like, ignore the white. So Yeah, we're the same width. So I'm the same width as an Abrams. I'm a few meters shorter and about the same length. I think part of it is how short my chassis is. Like an actual tank would probably be a bit longer chassis wise, like come out to about here. But yeah, we're within the dimensions of an Abrams. For first or third person, in the testing we did, we found that third person was really the best. First person was doable, but actual target acquisition was extremely difficult, and the range of cameras and how much they can zoom really limited visibility. So having third person available made tank battles go so much easier. Okay. So this is the 7 long barrel with no with no muzzle brake. I don't have a rangefinder. I don't know what range I'm at. But I also don't have the improved accuracy system. Not the improved accuracy system, but the fine-tuning system that I had in my other tank. So I'm going to be a little inaccurate just because this is how accurate mouse aim. And that's a hit. It's high. Hit. 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 There is no ammo cook-off for tank shells. There is ammo cook-off for the autocannon drums, but not for large shells, unless they've changed it. I will actually test that. Let's add a equipment. Let's see if I can find the rifle. I usually use the SMG personally in my tanks because it's like, oh, personal defense weapon. Rifle ammo. And then I need to turn on vehicle damage again. Yeah, there's no ammo cook-off. Oh yeah, warheads will go off. I don't have... Oh, that goes off too. Boxed ammo. Yeah, the boxed ammo goes off. Yeah. So these rounds don't cook off. I kind of think they should because it would be more realistic. But they don't. you said you want me to shoot at the back. I'll shoot at the back where it's, like, open. Yeah. Does this tank actually have my armor composite in it? Is it, I think F2? Yeah. Oh, it does have my armor composite. This is my composite armor. You can see in the cheeks. And in the front hole here. And actually on the sides too, you can see these are composited slightly. They're not the best. It's a weird... Basically, you have to gamify how the game treats different entities. So, if I, real quick, come over here and just yoink, and I make a giant cube, the game will treat it as a giant cube. But if you then take this cube, cut into the sides, and you use something like... I usually use these pyramids. This won't work. At least doesn't use... Oh, I need to... It's not mirrored, so I need to put them on this side too. This shouldn't work as it sits. If I spawn this in, you can see it doesn't want to generate properly. So, you have to trick the game into generating in an order that you like. And that's usually done by grabbing something like this and this, and now that should generate as a single plate, like that. And then you can just keep doing that until you generate all of the plates. And there you go. You now have a composite armor plate. So even though this is the exact same structure as it was like a few moments ago, this one generates differently because the order in which they were placed. Yes. You can edit it. But you have to do so carefully. You can edit, but you do have to do it carefully. You can't make an edit that's larger than the plate itself, from what I understand. Because if it's an edit larger than a plate itself, it doesn't want to generate properly. But if I do this, I now have a slope in my armor plate. Something else you can do is if you have something that is already square, like a fuel tank, you can take this. Actually, here, I'm going to do it like this. This is already square. Fuel tanks are already square. They don't have rounded edges. They don't have smooth corners. So they are considered as just a pure, perfect square. I can now grab this, cut. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Cut, move, paste, merge. And now I have fuel tanks embedded in my composite armor. And I've actually done this with a jet engine. You can, other than I think the combustion module, there's certain parts of the jet engine. A lot of these are considered square. I think... No, I think it's the turbine. The turbine actually renders out those corners. Yeah, the turbine actually renders out these corners, so it's not perfectly square. So you can actually embed the jet engine into your armor. And fun thing with that, jet engines don't actually catch on fire like diesel engines. And if I remember correctly, the only part of a jet engine that stops it from functioning is the actual combustion chamber, I believe, if I remember correctly. It's either the combustion chamber or the jet turbine. So you can build 90% of the actual jet engine into your frontal armor, and so long as you protect, I think it's the combustion chamber or the turbine, you can have a fully functional engine no matter how much the rest of the engine is damaged. So you can basically turn the engine into armor for the engine. So yeah, if I really wanted to, I could take this. Let's go select clear, cut, paste, merge. And this should be composite still with the added bump from the jet engine. So yeah. The jet engine is still considered the composite, except for this outer edge. So you can basically do stuff like this to burrow non-critical components like your fuel tanks, like jet engine parts and stuff, into your armor to be armor. But if so long as they're non-critical, they can take as much damage as you need. So you can make your tank smaller with more armor without sacrificing like anything. It's cool. If I actually grab, I'm gonna real quick clean this up and then I'm gonna save this. Save to workshop. Let's save it over this one. Oh, the loading mechanism? Yes. And yes, that's also why it's at the very back of the turret, too. Let me load. I should have some jet engine tests down here. The fucking short stack. Anti-chaff, chaff. These are all my missile tests. Turret ring tests. Engine efficiencies. Diesel electrics. somewhere in here, I should have... Yeah. So this one is the jet armor, and it's the... Yeah, it is the turbine. Everything other than the turbine can be broken. And so this is the external composite. So the idea is at like these angles, it has to go through a bunch of random junk. And then even once you get into here, basically if you're at this sort of angle, the amount of the amount of independent layers these are considered independent layers. So if you're doing like an armor piercing round, I think armor piercing goes through like 6 layers. You can do this and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then by the time it starts hitting stuff inside, there's armor in here. There's composite plating here. And then you also have, this is all composited. And this is actually where the engine is. The engine's burrowed in there. And then you have the cheeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plates. And then if I come down here, you can actually see this is the jet engine. There's the intake, there's the turbine, but everything else is in the armor, and all you have to do is make sure that this turbine stays functional. It's not that loud. This, in comparison to... Oh yeah, you can definitely rev it higher. The problem is also trying to keep the jet engine efficient. Also, if you want to talk about small tank... Also, this is a diesel engine in comparison. Oh yeah, I love oscillating turrets. They're just so simple. Oh, the fins? The fins on my tank? Oop, this thing's really small. The fins on my tank are these. Those are what the fins are on my tank. They're smoke shells. Other things. So, yes, it is louder. You can hear the jet besides this, but it's not obnoxiously loud. Oh, I do have ATGMs. Jet engine. Sorry. Don't mind that. These are really old ATGM. Oh yeah, these are the tilt ATG. This is before they fixed the ATGMs, so these are really bad. These were built to work with the broken problems that the other ATGMs had. Also, this tank has proximity mines. I just created a minefield. Yeah, it was to compensate for the old like pitching that missiles used to do. So yeah, this is a proximity minefield now. What next? Give me a second. Let me grab the tank. It also has ammo storage. So the way this one worked, so the way this one worked was you would actually fight with the main gun, and you can see there's actually a dial here that shows how much ammo is left. And then you press 6, and it pulls from an internal ammo tank. You can see the other dial down there is the internal. I think there's 20 rounds in the... So there's 20, but there can be extra in the belt. So there's 20 rounds in the turret, and I think there's like 120 in the chassis. Also, did the accuracy get applied to all cannons retroactively too? So, because before you actually had to place down a new cannon for the accuracy to be applied. Yeah, let me see if I can find where the camera is. Camera there. Logic. Follow you back. Let's zoom you in a little bit. This isn't bad. It actually did work. And it kind of did a top attack thing. Interesting. No, I didn't XML edit. They actually have circuitry on them. I don't do XML edits. I would say it'd be better just to make a better ATGM, but these were before the fixes to ATGMs and stuff. Okay, this is actually, like, quite functional, like, surprisingly functional. Also, the engine's in the front of this tank. It does have a hand crank, so if you need to emergency start the engine without a battery, you can. The ammo's behind you. And it's just really tiny. But I actually am genuinely surprised how accurate this is. I don't know the range, but this only has, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 barrels and a muzzle brake? Oh, it can turn on the spot. You can see the turret. This is an older turret concept, so it's not perfect. Oh no, this thing can't stall out. Oh, I also had my brakes engaged there too. This is using a clutch drive system, where essentially I'm making a clutch work like a CVT transmission. So I actually have my brakes on. My brakes allow me to do this slow crawl. So I can, at this speed, just fire on the move. But I can also disengage the brakes, and then I have really fast movement. Alright. I'm also curious. A pattern? Let's close this. And what would that pattern be? Oh, yeah, I used to use... So, here's the thing. When I started building tanks, there was two options. There was these tracks. And then... we didn't have medium. We had small and large for the longest time. So your options were what this has and this. So I went with the small. And then later, they gave us these, which is what I started using. But also, this tank's too small for these. So I want to grab one of my tanks that has the L3. Fucking forgot about this. Let me see if I can actually find there's the L3. It's an L333. Gotta come in here and I think turn this on. Oh, I did it for like a thumbnail like joke. Oh yeah, the gun actually does aim in this, by the way. It's got very limited aim, but it does aim. I'm actually having trouble steering it. There we go. I actually like hide in here. It's really derpy. This does also have neutral steer, which is funny. Okay. Real quick. I want to grab one of my tanks that actually has a auto cannon on the top of it. Because a lot of my old tanks, I did actually have cannons on the top. Oh yeah, you can see. Oh, the Lapis. It's been a while since this one also had a auto cannon, heavy auto cannon, with eight ATGMs on it. I have to fire it in bursts because there's actually a logic system in it that makes it single fire, because it was like, oh, the L3 is actually just a single fire with like a 10-round magazine. So that's how I did it, and it actually does only fire single fire. You can't just hold it down. Mark 20. Is this one not an oscillating turret? Oh, yeah, it is. It's an oscillating turret, but it has side armor on it. Let's grab... I think the Opal has an AT... or not an ATGM, a munition on top. Oh yeah, there's this one. This one's fun. Oh, and this one does have the secondary gun. This one's another one of my tiny tanks. How I'm probably going to do tank battles in the future is once I have a rule set created, I am going to basically give a code. Here, I'm going to take this tank somewhere else real quick. A code that can be put into a tank when you upload it to the workshop. And then I can basically just search that code. I can basically just search that code to find competitors. Load. I know what the Zis30 is. So this is one of my old designs. This one actually has my old accuracy system on it, which is probably no longer functional because of what they've done to this game, because of what they've done to cannon accuracy. Yeah, this gun is probably more inaccurate than all my other guns now because this has an accuracy system on it. So this one isn't using an oscillating turret system. If you look, the actual entire belt moves with the gun. Except for this has no gun depression. Which will make sense here in a second. Also... this tank has a really fun feature to it. There's a reason I came to this one. Gotta stir the turret. Da 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 da. This one floats. So technically it doesn't fully float. It's actually using hydrofoils to plane across the top of the water. So if you come down here, can't really... oh, there I can. Where are they at? There should be some fins down here. Oh, there's one right there next to the clutch, you can see. The bottom's glass, by the way. And then there's one right there by that front track axle. And it does have fins for steering, but I do think it actually does alter the propellers as well. I don't recall. It might not in this one. But yeah. You can see from the inside. This does actually have a bilge pump. So it was done under the misconception that glass was flat. It is not flat. It is a full block thick. But it's done under the misconception that glass was flat, and therefore I could seal the tank while also being smoother. But that's just not the case. It looks smooth, but it's a full block thick. So this was a tank that was built under the theory of MBT firepower. There are some. Wedges are sub-block sized. Mostly wedges. Wedges and corner pieces are technically sub-block size, and you can actually get some really small block sizes when you start messing with putting wedges together and the game tries to summarize their size. but there isn't anything that's like just a half block or a quarter block in the way you would want or think. But anyway, the concept with this was, yeah, the gaps. The gaps for the 1-4 wedge are big enough you can walk through them. Like, you could just straight up go through solid walls as long as they're made of wedges. It's bad. But the entire concept of this tank was, let's build a tank that has an MBT level of firepower with with the battle cannon and light autocannon. Make it as small as possible under the theory of who needs armor when you can't get hit, and then make it amphibious, because the plan... So there's two ways I've done tank battles when it comes to map size. One was to have one spawn here and one spawn here, and then we would just travel in between and then do our fighting. However, that took a long time to do. So we started doing a situation where we would actually spawn here in the railroad. Basically, your tank had to be able to fit inside the railroad spawn, and you just drive out of the railroad tracks. And then we would fight between here, which was more reasonable when it came to size, but it also removed all of the water obstacles that we had before. Like, yeah, you have these lakes, but they also have a lot of forests and trees around them. So you can't really use the lakes to your advantage like you could crossing this river or pond or lake or whatever. It was essentially a trade-off of how quickly you got into combat and how much you actually have the ability to flank. So, that being the reasoning that I don't really make amphibious tanks much anymore. Like, this one was amphibious. Let me get this back to the workshop. This one was amphibious. I was messing with these sorts of amphibious tanks where you'd actually have like a, I forget what these are called. The basically beach landing, and also snorkels on some tanks. I think some of my other tanks were designed to be sealed and actually float under their own weight. But I think that was before I made that one. Because there's two ways to make tanks float. Actually, I should say there's a few ways to make tanks amphibious. One way is to make the entire tank float. Just make it big enough, buoyant enough, that it's able to sit on the surface of water, which is what this one does. This one's big enough, buoyant enough, and I'm basically using empty fuel tanks, because empty fuel tanks float. Using those to float on the water. Then there's the option of making a tank that does, like the last tank I just showed, uses some sort of hydrofoil. This tank doesn't fully work. Its turret's not functional. Actually, I need to turn off infinite electricity for this. It will work, but it's actually working better than it should. So there's fully floating, there's hydrofoil. There's actually a version of tanks you can do where you just drive across the bottom, which is what most modern MBTs do if they ever have to do bridge crossings. They either bring in a floating bridge, or they'll actually bring in a snorkel and just drive across the bottom of a pond or lake to the other side. So this one This one fully floats. I can hop out of my seat. I can climb on top. And the actual gun breech in this is sealed. I'm using a door frame, and I've sealed the actual gun breech as well. So you can just sit on this. And it will never sink. Yeah. That is another problem with amphibious tanks, is the concept of, like, if you don't find somewhere safe to go up, if you roll in the water, you're done. Like, if you fall over, if you roll over in water, there's nothing you can do about it. And in some of my old tank battles, yeah, this is actually using wheels, not tracks for driving. It looks like it, but there's actually wheels under there. There's actually been a couple of battles where I've had to forfeit because I just rolled underwater and there was no way for me to right myself, and there was no way for me to get out of the water. So I do like and do want the amphibious nature of this. But then, like, the problem is, where do we actually set up our spawns at? Because, like I said before, doing the 2 airfields, I've done it before, but it takes forever to get into combat. To actually, like, you spend more time driving through an open field than you do actually fighting. Okay, I need to actually get to the tank I was looking for. There's the Jade. Okay, here's the Mark 10, or the 9.10 Jade. Ah, yes, the saluting gun that this one has. This one has a functional... Oh, this one's using arrow keys. Okay, this one's going to be interesting to work with. I don't have Arid Island. I don't have that DLC. And I also don't want to require that DLC for people to play in tank battles. You already have to require the Search and Destroy DLC because you need it for the guns. But I don't want to require that everyone have every DLC in the game to be able to play. So this is actually a tank that was built under when we were testing out first person. So I have the main gun. I have actually my driving camera. Bigger train depot. This train depot doesn't have spawns in it, I don't think. On the left? This one? Before Big Island. This one over here? Oh, this one. Wait, no, this is coal mines. Oh, this? Where's the spawns at on here? Yeah, this used to be the biggest one. Yeah. But like I said, what we've been doing is spawning here at this train yard, and then just driving between here and the airbase. Problem is, the only water obstacles, like I said, are just these 2 little ponds, and they're all surrounded by trees, so there's no actual use for using the ponds. most of your flanking is done by going down south, southwest, down around here, or going down here, going in between, or going up top. It's like you have 3 routes for the most part to really take. Or you can even come up here, in the middle here, or all the way down here and come around. Once again, there's really like only 3 routes to take. Okay. So this was built using... this is old. This is an old tank at this point. Still has my smoke screens, which is fun. I love these. These work so well. But I don't have the third-person cameras. And this actually has my accuracy improving system, which at this point is actually probably going to cause me more problems than anything else. But does have MGs at 4. Does have this gun on it, which is so much more accurate. Oh my god, that's actually usable. Overheat. Train and airplane hangar. What, right here? The range is max 800 meters-ish. Well, from either side of the runway is already 1,000 meters. From here to here, there is some long range that I've done from, say, like right around here, and sniping someone who went up into these mountainous or into this rocky hilly area. Max range around 800 meters, and then despawn. Also, this gun salutes, because this gun, actually the connector's there, so when it fires, I think it loads for longer than it needs to, but it does that because the gun could be at a different elevation. I could have it way up here and it still needs to... There. It still needs to be able to get all the way down. I don't remember which one I battled you in. The tiny one? I almost want to make another tank that does the salute. Like, it's going to make the reload longer, but also, I think this is kind of cool. Cannon, or tanks that have autocannons. Tanks that have autocannons that are actually battle ready. The Mark 20. This one was laser-guided missiles, it looks like. And there's the Mark 20 V2, which is this one, which I think I use the same chassis, but swapped out the turret. The thing looks French. Wait, oh, the hatch is... I forgot the hatch is down here on this one. Ah, yes, they've changed missiles a lot since this. Then there's the Mark... Let's see, next one. Mark 24 was a failure. Mine layer concept. Mark 26. Nope. Want the blinker. Here's the Mark 26. This one. This one has the mines on it, the mine layer. And I flipped it. This tank was so small, it just wants to flip. There we go. Yes, they're dangerous for me. So they actually do have a timed fuse. So I have a few seconds after dropping them to get away from them. And the idea was I could just deny a path or use them in retreat to make it so you can't follow me. Or you'd have to, like, be careful following me. Because what I would love to do... Here, let me... is I would do one of these funny things. I would go, oh no, smoke, turn, leave, mines. And if you go plowing through, if you go plowing through the smoke to chase me, you just drive into like 3 mines. With the new map block... Map block? Map icon. Actually, this is a good thing. Map icon's really cool. Because what we actually did was we disabled the map. You could still use the map, but you couldn't see the vehicles. I think we disabled so you could see the players. So you could see where someone roughly was. But actually getting on target. Yeah, I didn't know about the map block. But yes, that's one thing that's actually going to come up in rules when we start doing that, is how the map's going to function. Another thing that's probably going to change when it comes to like rules. One of the issues we kept having with our last set of tank battles was how easily you could repair a tank, and how much health the player was given. Because one of the things was, in these, you were given an underwater welding torch, which has the least amount of gas, like amount of welding potential, and a single first aid kit. But that seemed to, like, we kept having battles, which in part because of gun accuracy, we were running out of ammunition. Now that guns are more accurate, rounds are going to be doing more. But before then, we were running out of ammo mid-match often. And that could probably be changed by removing the first aid kit or changing the allowed armor, because that was another thing. With the old tank battles, you were allowed... actually, not just the armored vest. You're actually allowed the bomb disposal unit vest, which really protected you against fragmentation stuff. And then usually you were just allowed any sort of weapon. You couldn't use explosives or grenades, but you could have like a rifle. And there was actually a lot of tank battles where it came down to using a rifle. Okay. I'm getting a little distracted from what the original goal of this stream was, to test out accuracy. However, that being said, I kind of came to my main conclusion. I think a main battle cannon needs to be about 7 blocks. And then this light autocannon, or I guess heavy autocannon, correction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, yeah. 5 plus the breach, or plus the brake, sorry, the muzzle brake. Seems to be enough. Like, yes, I probably won't be using a heavy autocannon at full range. I almost want to do a... I almost want to do like a BMP3 style vehicle that has like the heavy autocannon and a battle cannon on it. I think having those both together, this does not have ricochets on sloped armor. The way it does armor is how many blocks it counts, how many layers it counts. So what that means is, if I grab this, you could press F2 and it shows how the game is rendering blocks. It counts each one of these as a layer. So if you have something that's big and chunked together, no matter how thick this is, it's only one layer as far as armor penetrating rounds are concerned. That being said, things like HE or fragmentation will detonate on this outer layer and just have a blast radius. Also, answering your question, Jazzy, in the 5K announcement, I did talk about this. I don't intend to have a Discord anytime soon. The time and energy it takes to manage something like that is not something I want to do right now. My goal for tank battles, is to do some tests, do some like experiments, get a new rule set or an idea for a rule set planned. Then when I actually do the challenge video, having a what is essentially a password, I guess. Having a password that people can upload their tanks to the workshop with. That way, when I'm actually going to like set up and do a tank battle, I can just search for that password on the Steam Workshop, see who has tanks submitted for combat, and then from there going through Steam and stuff, messaging and saying like, hey, if you want to do combat, if you want to do a battle, trying to set up and schedule that way. Essentially just because I want to avoid doing a Discord right now. I just, like I said, don't have the time or energy to try and manage a community. And the last couple of times I've tried to set one up, it has not gone well. And I just don't want to deal with that. I don't have a range marker on this. Essentially. Few bad apples and people making like alt accounts, so I couldn't just... I was banning people, but they just kept coming back as an alt. And short of limiting my Discord behind like a paywall or something, I didn't really have a good option. Yeah. That was part of it. People really don't like that I enjoy games vanilla. They really wanted to mod things. And it's not modding, it's just modifying the code. That's what modifying is. Yeah. People really wanted to use XML edits. I was like, no. I want to do these with vanilla vehicles. I don't want people to modify values and create things that you can't actually make in game. Yes. The stream is really quickly kind of faded from the whole accuracy testing. I still kind of am testing, just shooting randomly. Number... My main thing when it comes to like XML edits and stuff is in the same way that I was saying before that I don't want coding to be a requirement to participate in tank battles when it comes to like smart missiles and stuff. I also don't want modifying what is essentially game files to participate in tank battles either. That's also why I really didn't have fun doing tanks earlier, because cannons were so bad that I was actually considering like having an XML edited cannon and see if I could figure out a way to make them more accurate. Okay, so that's at 1,000. That's actually like... The fact that I'm just aiming for a single point. Yeah, they're actually useful. From what I've been like experimenting with, the base. So this is for the battle cannon, because I actually did like more detailed testing for the battle cannon. For the battle cannon, the default cannon is good out to about 600 meters. Then every barrel adds about 100 meters of effective range. So 600 for the base cannon. With one, you're about 7, 2, 8, 3, 9, 4, 1,000. That is the rough estimate. However, there does seem to be a diminishing return as you add more barrels. And from my testing, I think the sweet spot is around 7 or 8 barrels. That is the point at which you can, with consistency, hit a target at around 1,000 meters, and it's not overly long or overly heavy. Plus, it's roughly around 1,000 to 12,000 is where the visual range of cameras starts to struggle to see a tank. So if you were actually firing at those sorts of ranges, it's one of those things of which is more accurate, your camera or your cannon. And this is already extremely accurate with just the light or the heavy autocannon. I keep calling it light because it's light. It's a light battle cannon, essentially. Well, for this cannon, it's actually... offset is less of a concern. For this one, the camera is offset. However, if I grab... what's the last... I think the last tank that I actually built one of these on was the... oh, Mark 12? No, Mark 9. It was the Jade. So, the camera offset isn't a significant concern because one of two things. Sometimes I'll actually have the cannon mounted on, or the camera mounted on the cannon, which is fine because vertical guidance is a thing anyway, and vertical offset's not a problem. The other option is what I did for this tank is actually I have, if you look, the points are offset. So that actually accounts for the camera. So the red dot is the rangefinder. So I could essentially range find that point there. And that's 700 meters. And then I could go, okay, that's 700 meters. Is the problem with cameras zoom? Is the problem with cameras a zoom problem, like you don't want to see atoms, or is it a game engine problem? It's a zoom problem. The camera's largest zoom can only see a tank-sized target out to around 12 to 1400 meters. Anything further than that, and the tank only appears as like 6 pixels on a screen. And that's just the max a camera can zoom to. Also, this cannon is going to be wildly inaccurate because it's using an accuracy system, which genuinely I might actually be able to detach. Let me find the accuracy system in this. Where's the accuracy system? Here it is. And then I just have to disable this, because that will stop keeping track of the round count. Yeah, it's an angle offset table. Brr. So this was... this one should get all... yes. The original guns, when they first added them, all had the same offset. So what I actually did is I calculated the first 32 rounds to be able to hit a 1 block by 1 block area at 800 meters. And then every tank had that same value set into it with the same barrel length, and therefore could always hit a 1 block by 1 block space at 800 meters. Now, shortly after I revealed this, they went and they made it so that every time you placed a cannon, it would randomly generate a spread pattern, which destroyed my system. Okay, so this should be more accurate now. So that top of the hill there is about 1,000. So and then that's just because my zeroing is off because, like I said, old system. So if I do that, it should hit top corner of that green. Here we go. And then this, I'd say roughly right around there, maybe? There we go, yeah. And this is just because my cannon 0 is off, because old system once again. This was I think the first tank that I put it into that is fully like functioning and zeroed is really terrifying, because every round this tank had could, without a doubt, hit its target. And it's also got only 1, 2, 3 barrel extensions. Ah, yes, tanks used to be so much easier. Actually, no. That is provenly false. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is what I would consider to be the optimal barrel. Seven long. Already know that's 2,000, so roughly around there. Okay, that hit the top of that. I do have to wait for cannon bounce a bit, because the cannon moving up and down does make this chassis bounce quite a lot. That one was low. Here's what I want to do. I want to save this and load. I need to go to the other airfield. And then the actual target is down that way. Oh, this had the separate chaff launcher. This didn't have the auto chaff, that just had the radar alarm. This thing is so slow in comparison to the new ones I've built. Okay. This is what I was saying about actually being hard to see a tank at these sorts of ranges. I don't think this is the full zoom I can get out of this camera, but it is a lot. So that's 1100. So if this is correct, that should be hitting. However, I know it's not. Also, where did my camera go? That's hitting like way over here. That looked like a hit. Is the accuracy system actually disabled on this? I think it is. Yeah, part of it's just the tank, how much it's bouncing, because I'm, you know, making the gun salute. Yeah. The big thing is this one, I think. And then it shouldn't have... So the gun loaded is what actually tracks how many rounds are in it. So it should always act like it's on its first round. You can see the gun also does slightly tilt when I'm zooming in to match the ranges here on the screen. You have like the point blank barrel. This is the problem I had with first person, was like actual target acquisition is so hard using these camera screens just because they're so low low resolution. Okay, that's actually like not half bad. That's a hit. I'll probably have a like video for it when that happens. That was a bad shot. Gun wasn't zeroed. That's a hit. That's a hit. I think what would actually be better is a vertical screen instead of this horizontal one for sights. just so you can have a higher level of zoom with all of your ranges on it. Like, we're hitting relatively accurately. Like, all of these have seemed to hit. That one looked like it missed. It went low. Low. Because I tried to aim a little bit. Yeah. I think once... This is all... The actual fidelity at which you can aim is another point of concern. Which is something I fixed with the test platform because I had both mouse aiming and arrow key aiming. And the arrow keys could do the fine changes. I think that's what's gonna like be the best, having mouse for those quick sweeping motions, and then having arrow keys for those direct, like, point, trying to hit specific components. And I think 7 to 9 is the optimum barrel length. 7 works just fine. But might not have the level of accuracy to hit specific components at these sorts of ranges, which, in all honesty, I don't know if you're going to be able to hit specific components at these sorts of ranges. Oh, am I out of ammo? I think I'm out of ammo. The ammo counter's not working because the ammo thing's not working either. So, I think I've learned what I need to learn from these tests and these experiments. So I'm going to end this stream out here shortly. Coming out of this with the knowledge of 7 barrels is probably my goal for tanks. I think the next one I work on, I want to mess around with having 2 guns. Having the actual battle cannon and a heavy autocannon, or at minimum light autocannon. I think the heavy autocannon would be the better, just because it would actually do damage to a tank. And the goal being that if you can engage with a heavy autocannon and start just peppering key components like sights, like their smoke, like their engine, or something like that, and then come in with the heavy autocannon to finish them. Or if you need that accuracy at range, use the using the battle cannon to finish things off. Just having that choice. I think it's odd that they didn't FOV change the cameras, but I guess it's for balancing reasons. Yeah, the max FOV is 1. Which, here, I'm gonna save this as accuracy test. And then I can grab my other accuracy test platform. And this one of the cameras is FOV... one of the cameras FOV 9995, and the other FOV is 1. We need to have infinite electricity on this. Also keep in mind this is a 2x2 screen instead of a 1x2 screen. So it is a bigger screen as well. So that does, I think, actually add to how much the zoom looks. So that may also be a thing. You just need a bigger screen to zoom in more, essentially. Which somewhat sucks that you just have to have a large screen. But find the tank. Oh, there's that tank. There we go. That is what the tank looks like on a 2x2 screen. Kuba, you missed pretty much the entire stream. I was getting ready to wrap up here shortly. The main takeaways are guns are significantly more accurate. My old accuracy systems have actually made guns inaccurate because they were meant for the old inaccurate guns. Roughly the best barrel length is somewhere between 7 and 9. Because at those sizes, you start running into, one, it starts getting really big for a barrel. And two, you start running into actually how much your camera can zoom. Because this is a fully, so the left screen is a fully zoomed in camera on a 2x2 screen. And that is a range of 900. If I back up a little bit, the optimal range for this gun, the effective range I should say, should be about 1100. And then start becoming more inaccurate around 12. So this here is about the effective range of this gun. So you can see how big the tank actually shows up on camera. And you can see how big the tank shows up in the actual world. So there it is off in the distance. Just to the right of my numbers. That's the tank. And then with a camera zoomed into 99 and a camera zoomed in to 100. We're starting to run into a thing of the gun is just as accurate as the camera is. And I feel like this is a respectable engagement range. Anything further than this, I think, is where ATGMs would happily fill that gap. But this is actually usable. Let me turn on infinite ammo as well. So let me grab infinite ammo, because this is just a test rig. And if I remember correctly, somewhere around here. Too low. Too low. Still too low. Hit. Too high. Hit. Hit. And I think this is where we're starting to run into that balance of around 7 barrels is more than usable. because that's what the tank looks like just from third person, and then camera, it's just good enough. So that being said, I still want to at some point mess around with heavy autocannons. They're significantly more accurate as well. But I'm not going to do this level of range testing because I also understand that they're just not going to be as accurate as battle cannons. But that being said, I am going to end out the stream here. Take a bit of a break, go grab some food, do all that fun stuff. So, thanks for stopping by. Thanks, stick around. And until next time.